Hey guys, welcome to this third. I told you I was going to try to keep it going as much as I can, especially with the summer break coming up, so I might be doing some straight shooting episodes, a lot of them maybe on Wednesday, just to have some content out for you guys the first full week. So if you see like one scheduled to premiere Monday through Friday, the following, next week I should say, because this is the last week my mom's going to be at her job until her summer break is over in August. If you start seeing here's one for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, don't be surprised, because I need to get some content, even if it's 1 or 2 videos out a day, so you guys can have something. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. As a matter of fact, I want to talk about something because I was just watching Clownfish TV's one of their recent videos they did a couple of days ago, where they talked about the news that Bob Chapek, the CEO at Disney, the recently new CEO as of this past year, fired a guy by the name of Peter Rice. Peter Rice was the head of the Fox division, basically, of 20th Century Studios, and was potentially looked at, from what I understand by watching the video, potentially looked at as the potential replacement for Chapek once Chapek's contract was up next year, with a possible termination depending on his evaluation with what he's doing right now as CEO and stuff like that. Well, apparently Bob decided within the span of 7 minutes, according to various reports, to let Peter go and replace him with, I think, a lady by the name of Dana something. Let me see if I can bring this up real quickly. Let me see if I can bring this up real quickly. Yeah, Peter Rice. And basically, according to the various reports, not only was it something that came out of the blue, but everybody was shocked. They were stunned. Some feel that the morale is down now, even more so. Well, that's the New York Post, so depending on whether or not you believe the NY Post, that's up to you. And some are saying like Fortune is saying that he made the, that he's under pressure, that being Chapek, and he just made the biggest power move to date, and it's tanked morale. So basically, a lot of people are not happy about this. Not a lot of people are happy about this. Here we go. Pirates and Princesses. This is Geeky Sparkle of Clownfish TV. This is one of her personal websites that she contributes to, and apparently, I'm trying to find the name of the person he replaced, that Chapek replaced Rice with, and basically the reason was the fact that Chapek felt he didn't fit into the new Disney culture, which Rice, of course, was wondering, well, what do you mean? Where do I not fit? And Chapek's like, now is not the time. And he just dismissed him. So one could assume that if Chapek wants to keep morale up again, or get it back up, according to these various reports, that maybe he took Peter aside later on, called him up, texted him, whatever, and explained to him why he didn't fit in, like why he had to let him go. And the person that he replaced Rice with, I'm trying to find the name here. I don't know if they got the name here or not. It says replacing replacing Peter Rice is Bob Chapek's own right-hand woman, Dana Walden. And they say you might remember her as the executive that said they had a lot of good shows submitted, but they passed on them because they weren't diverse enough. So yeah. And Walden, she commented by saying this: Disney's general entertainment's culture of creative excellence and originality has made us home to many of the most talented creators in the business. I am humbled to lead this team, and I am confident that together we will continue to build on the foundation of culture-defining entertainment we have achieved so far. Now, Chapek responded by saying Dana is one of the most seasoned and respected executives in the business, and her well-earned reputation for championing creative talent and developing programming that captures the cultural zeitgeist has resulted in hit after hit for us. Now, so basically what he's saying is that she is responsible for a lot of the shows that they have had, like on Disney Channel and all that, that have showed culture diversity and inclusion of all kinds. But here's what's interesting, though. A lot of people, including Neon, and I think even Geeky, if she decides to chime in on this later on if they do a follow-up, but I'm sure she feels the same way, at Clownfish TV, basically everybody has said that this is coming at a bad time for Disney. Because when you look at all the other companies out there, like Netflix and Warner Brothers and several others, a lot of them are pulling back on the cultural diversity and the inclusion and the wokeness, if you will. The what was the word he was saying? You know, basically, a lot of the what did he say? A lot of the anti-politics kind of stuff. Basically, a lot of that stuff we get with the SJWs and the woke groups and all that. That, you know, Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery and others are pulling back. Well, Disney is doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on it. And you know, let's be honest, and this is why I created the series, to shoot straight with you. Let's be honest here, and shooting straight right now, Disney has always been like this. I mean, Disney is so beloved, you know, by everybody. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? Let's not kid ourselves. Geeky Sparkles, Neon, John Campea, everybody that's kind of judged, you know, Disney for some of the decisions they have made over the past years, for the way they do things at the parks and stuff like that, or the way they present this or that. Deep down, they still love Disney. They still love Disney, and if they can afford it, they will go to a Disney park for a week, for a weekend. If they live right across the street from it for a day, you know, they will do it. They will go to a Disney park. No questions asked. They will spend money straight up. They will do it. They can deny it. They can say, oh, they've lost my business and all that. But the fact of the matter is, they know deep down inside, they still love Disney, and they'll still do it. And that's a straight shoot right there. Or shooting straight with you right there. And another thing to shoot straight with you here as well is Disney, you know, being, you know, this big conglomerate, being in the spotlight because of all these decisions. People are going to oversee these decisions. They're going to oversee all this behind-the-scenes corporate nonsense, if you will. They're going to oversee all this corporate nonsense and bullshit. Excuse my language, God, but they're going to overlook all this and just look at the positives. In other words, it's that old adjective saying of hide the negatives, accentuate the positives. And that's what they're doing. People are hiding away the negatives, they're ignoring the negatives, and they're looking at the positives. That's what they're looking at. You know, because to them, as long as, you know, Disney's still up and running and, you know, breathing every day and night, 24/7, then there's nothing wrong. We shouldn't have to worry about anything. But the reason people bring this up is because when you have all these other corporations, streaming service business corporations and overall studios and stuff pulling back on this kind of stuff, and yet you have Disney, you know, still leading the charge, still trying to, you know, separate themselves from the pack by saying, hey, we're going to do what you won't because you're too scared. You know, a lot of people do, you know, that have worked in the business, and even overall fans and supporters do have reason to be concerned. Because basically a lot of folks, you know, feel that even though everything is hunky-dory right now, that once Disney, you know, does make the decision that everybody else has done, and that's to pull back on this, you know, on this wokeness, on this SJW, on this, you know, culture, diversity, inclusion kind of stuff, that once they do that, you know, in the long run, it's going to hurt them. Financially, in the long run, it's going to hurt them because of all the decisions they have made. And that's a straight shoot right there. Because we've seen it with Netflix. We've seen it with Amazon. that despite everything on the, on the outside looking okay, when you're streaming Netflix and all that, everything is looking okay. On the inside, there's turmoil, but now that turmoil is starting to cease to be because they're rectifying some of the decisions they made. But it's still hurting them, as we speak, financially and so forth. The same with Warner Bros. Discovery, same with Amazon and all these other places that are doing the same thing. And yet Disney is basically still moving forward with it. Which is why a lot of people do have reason to be concerned. Because even though on the outside everything looks hunky-dory, sunshine and flowers, nice weather 24/7 kind of deal, on the inside there is a storm continuously wreaking havoc and brewing that's gonna basically, when it's all said and done, when that storm passes through, is gonna leave a long-lasting effect, on Disney internally and financially. And that is, again, that is a straight shoot. Because like I said, we've seen it with Netflix already. We're seeing it somewhat with Warner Bros. Discovery, which is why David Zaslav is like, hey, I'm cutting this, I'm doing this, because he sees the problem. That's why you kind of see it with Amazon, Crunchyroll, Sony. They're seeing all these problems because they're trying to support the wokeness, the SJW-ness, and all that. And basically, now that they're pulling back, they're seeing, well, what I'm trying to say is now that they're pulling back and everything, it's because they're seeing the damage financially that it's causing. But it's not just, financially, the damage, being done. I should say for everybody that's getting away from this, and right now it's doing it with Disney. Right now it's pretty much doing the same with Disney. But one thing that a lot of people point out is it's causing a lot of fans and supporters that, again, you can say what you want, still love Disney, will still go to Disney parks and all that, but it'll cause them to not want to go see certain movies or want to go watch certain shows on Disney Channel or Disney XD or Disney Plus because of this woke agenda, if you will, this SJW agenda and all this left-wing agenda, as they call it. They're not going to want to deal with that because that's not what they see Disney as. That's not what they remember Disney as. They know Disney as being basically something for the entire family. I mean, I'll be honest with you, straight shoot. It's okay if Disney wants to say, hey, we want to go the LGBTQ route, with some of our movies and shows from now on. Okay, that's fine. You want to do that to include, the fact that you believe everybody should love everyone, no matter what their gender is, or, whatever the case is, no matter what their gender is, or what they want to be, and all that, that's fine. That's fine. You want to do that? That's a great move on your part. No questions asked. But, when you really look at it, even if you just include that, that's still a bit of a turnoff to a lot of folks. Because that's not what they know Disney of. Okay? I mean, one of the things that got Netflix in trouble, especially when it came to the She-Ra and Princesses of Power show, despite obviously it getting so many seasons that it did, because of the fact that it was only supposed to be like 2 seasons at most, 3 seasons at most, what really got them in trouble was the heavily implied attraction and romance between Catra and Adora. It's like right off the bat, you knew where they were going, and they did it. And a lot of people were very like, "What the heck? Why would you follow through on that? We knew you were planning, we knew you were hinting at it, but we didn't think you'd follow through on it, and yet they did." And some people were okay with it. They were like, "Thank you, God, thank you, Lord." But still, it's like it's still got a lot of mixed controversy. I go back to something I've talked about before when it comes to this kind of a subject. Legend of Korra. The writers, the creative staff, they waited until the actual animated portion of Korra was done to come out and say that ending between Korra and what's her name, Asami, I think. That ending, pretty much hinted at the fact that they had become an item. And the comics, pretty much, that continued afterwards, further developed that, if you will. But even with that revelation after the show was done, you know, that revelation still got a lot of controversy behind it, because it's like, well, why didn't you? It's like, because one, there was, you know, to a lot of people that probably watched the show, there was something there, but they weren't sure what it was. And then when it was revealed as or the more the show went on, and finally it got revealed by the creators themselves as to what it was, again, they got a lot of controversy, you know, thrown at them, because it's like, why would you put Korra in that position? Korra never, you know, gave off the vibes of being that way. Neither did Asami. I think that's her name. They never gave off those vibes, and yet now you're just throwing it in there. You see, it's stuff like that to where, you know, to where even though the animated portion of the show was done and the revelation was made, it still didn't sit well, because that's not why people wanted to see The Legend of Korra. That's not why people watched the show. It was spun off from Avatar, you know, The Last Airbender. That's not what they watched those shows for on Nickelodeon. They watched them for entertainment. And, you know, that's how people feel about Disney. It's like, okay, like I said, if they want to include LGBTQ-ness and all that, that's fine. More power to them. But when you start pushing your agenda, your political left-wing agenda, you know, in along with that, along with your woke agenda and your SJW agenda, all that rolled into one, along with what should be just a simple, you know, a simple answer of, or a simple announcement of, oh, by the way, we're going to add in, you know, LGBTQ-ness now into our programming and movies, so deal with it. It's like, you know, once you know, instead of making that announcement and making it simple so that you're not put into the fire, when you add in all this other stuff, you know, it's going to get people to turn against you. Even if on the outside everything looks hunky-dory, you know, people are reading these stories, they're, you know, reading these stories of behind-the-scenes turmoil, you know, morale being down and everything, all because you want to address your own agenda. You want to get your message out there. And one thing that, you know, Neon said in the video is something that really shouldn't really surprise anybody, because people pretty much look at Biden being in the same situation, and that is the fact that he believes Bob Chapek is a puppet. It's like whoever Disney is paying basically behind the scenes, basically the people that are bankrolling Disney and all that to, you know, be the success financially that it is, that whoever is bankrolling them obviously wants to go in this direction and wants him to choose these certain people. So him choosing this Dana Walden to replace Peter Rice obviously is not just of his decision, but of the decision of those that are bankrolling the company, those that are financially backing the company. And that, you know, because of all this, Neon, and I'm sure his wife Geeky and others that have talked about it as well, all feel that Bob is just a puppet in this. Like, Bob may have the best of intentions. I mean, reports are coming out that pretty much everybody has affirmed that he is getting better. That, you know, from a business standpoint, he has improved. He's actually showing, you know, progress. He's starting to stride in the right direction. But still, despite that positive news, a lot of people feel that, you know, his strings are being pulled from behind the scenes by somebody else. And that is why he fired Peter Rice. That is why he put his white-haired woman, Dana Walden, in his place. Because it's not of his decision, it's of somebody else. And what a lot of people are fearing about, basically, is this is, like I said earlier, this is going to come back to financially hurt Disney, you know, in the long run. Even if they finally, like everybody else, gets away from it and says, you know, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to be the Disney people used to love us for, you know, and that would be great to hear. That would be a great announcement to read and talk about and everything. That in the end, behind the scenes, you know, it's going to leave an aftermath that's going to take time to recover. And that right there is a straight shoot. That is a straight shoot. Because let me tell you something. I've worked in retail for 7 years. 7 years, almost straight, except for, of course, the rest of 2020 and most of all of 2021. I've worked in retail for mostly 7 years straight, 7 to 8 years straight. And if you include my time at the Walmart in Lawrence, Kansas for a year and a half, that is, that's almost a decade. You know, with 7 years in between, that is, that's almost a decade together. If you don't count the 7 years I wasn't working, that is a decade, that is near a decade's worth of retailing. And then of course you can include Food for Less for a year, that's 11 years, and all that. You get the idea. You get the idea. The point is, I have seen a lot of changes happen in the store. That, you know, behind the scenes, eternally, corporate-wise, a lot of things were happening, changes were happening. Some were positive changes that you saw reflect in the stores later on. Some were negative changes that reflected in the stores later on. A lot of things were happening that once the dust was settled, the aftermath became notable throughout the stores, you know, in the country, including some of the stores I worked at. So when you look at what Disney's doing right now, eternally, if you will, you know, like I said, on the outside, straight shoot here, on the outside, things may be hunky-dory. Things may look like sunshine and roses. But on the inside, there's a storm going on. There's turmoil. There's a storm of turmoilness going on. That once that storm of turmoilness passes through, the damage it will leave behind will be surely, if not immediately, I wouldn't say immediately, let me correct myself. It will be surely, if not sooner down the line, felt all throughout Disney. And we're talking to Disney Channel, we're talking Disney Plus, we're talking Disney XD, we're talking Disney channels internationally, we're talking Disney Plus internationally, we're talking 20th Century Studios, we're talking Touchstone, we're talking Foxlight Pictures, or Fox Searchlight Pictures, whatever you want to call it, Searchlight Pictures, whatever they call themselves. Walt Disney Pictures, Pixar, Blue Sky, if Blue Sky is still somewhat of a thing, or something reminiscent of it is left. You get the idea. The effect will be felt. And along those lines, it'll be felt in the Disney parks. At Disneyland, at Walt Disney World, Disneyland Paris, Shanghai Disney, you know, Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disney, you name it. It will be felt. It will be felt for years to come. And everybody, when that moment happens, and this is a straight shoot, when those moments happen, everybody's going to pinpoint back to the era of Chapek. They're going to point back at him. They're going to point at the decisions to make Dana Walden, you know, the new person, you know, that would possibly succeed him instead of Peter Rice. You know, they're going to point at this decision he's made, that decision he's made, and say, this guy screwed up Disney, and the people that, you know, made these suggestions to him or got in his ear, are just to blame, if not more so. Get rid of them. Or get them out of the entertainment business, period. And that potentially is what could happen. And that's a straight shoot. That is a straight shoot. That once everybody starts to slowly feel the after effects of that storm of turmoilness after it's passed through eternally, they're going to point back at Chapek. They're going to point back at Walden. They're going to point back at the people that basically manipulated the situation and made Chapek, you know, make decisions that he shouldn't have made. And they're going to say, get these people out of here. We don't want them around anymore. And it could get to a point. It could get to a point where the granddaughter of Walt Disney himself. Yeah, I think her name is Abigail Disney or something. I can't think. Let me see. Yeah, Abigail, yeah, she's a Disney heiress, if you will. Abigail Disney. Abigail Disney. She could potentially, it could get to a point that where she And the other grandchildren, like Victoria Brown, Jennifer Miller Goff, and Michelle Lund and Tamara Shee, but mostly Abigail, it could get to a point. It could get to a point that basically, she might have to step in. It could get to a point to where she'll probably legally find a way to step in and take control, take the company back, and say, I ain't dealing with this crap anymore. We're going to get back to simpler things. We're going to simplify this. And that could potentially be the end result. Straight shoot with you, man. Shooting straight with you, that could be the end result. And I don't think, the people manipulating things from what people are saying, manipulating what Bob Chapek does and all that, I don't think they realize that potentially is, a very real option. A very real option. I don't think they realize that. But it could get to that point. It could get to that point where she could step in. She could legally, in my opinion, step in and say, enough of this. This ends now. Chapek, you're out of here. Walden, you're out of here. You people, you're out of here. And then, she could sit down, with the board and be like, this is what we're going to do now, and say, there's going to be no more of this wokeness. There's going to be no more of this SJW-ness. There's going to be no more of this, political agendas put into our stuff. We're going to get back to what my grandfather wanted this to be about in the first place. Fun for the whole family. And that potentially is what could happen. I'm not saying it will, but the direction, according to a lot of people are saying, eternally that Disney is heading, I don't see it. I don't see there not being any other option. I don't see there being any other option. So unless Disney does decide to do what Netflix has done, what Warner Bros. Discovery has done, and so on, and basically pull out of this political left-wing, agenda, wokeness agenda, SJW agenda, and all that. Unless they make that decision to pull out sooner than later, and prevent any other further damage by the storm of turmoilness, that it's causing, unless they pull out a lot sooner than later to prevent any more damage by that storm of turmoilness, it's going to get to a point where, like I said, when that storm passes, it's going to trickle down. The after effects are going to trickle down to where everybody's going to feel it. They're going to point the finger at Chapek. They're going to point the finger at Walden. They're going to point the finger at everybody that helped manipulate the situation and say, get them out of there. And it might even get to the point where they have to call, Abigail Disney gets called in, and she steps in and probably reclaims what is rightfully hers and her fellow cousins and sisters and brothers. So, and to me, that's a straight, and from me to you, I should say, that's a straight shoot. That's shooting straight with you. But yeah, this is something that, I think Disney is going to learn from. Hopefully, pray to God sooner than later they wake up and realize, this direction we're going in is not going to work. And if they don't wake up from it sooner or later, like some people have said, financially they're going to notice it, and that's probably going to wake Bob Chapek up and be like, okay, fine, we'll get away from this whole left-wing agenda deal and do what's right. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, shooting straight with you guys. Shooting straight with you. It's like Disney. On the outside looks okay. On the inside, there's turmoil. And, if they don't obviously follow the lead that Netflix and Warner Bros. And others have been taking, that storm of turmoilness is going to keep growing and growing and growing until it becomes like an F5, F10 freaking tornado, blast through Disney, causing so much damage that down the line it's felt by everybody, to the point that possibly Abigail Disney may have to step in. That's just my opinion. Straight shooting opinion with you on that. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment below. Super thanks will be enabled after the premiere. How do you feel about it? Basically about this whole situation. And let me know what your thoughts are. Live chat will be open during the premiere. Super chat, super stickers will also be open. Again, let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about this? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the end result could be? Let me know down below. And thank you for watching this third episode of Shootin' Straight with you. On the whole, Disney on the outside looks good. You know, on the whole, well, I'll think of a title. It's kind of be Disney. You know, it's gonna be something. The whole Disney agenda. We'll put it that way. The whole, BTS Disney agenda. We'll put it that way. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys, and I will talk to you later.